Hello, my name is Shia Ritchie, and today I will be covering the topic of epigenetics. So, epigenetics is basically factors that work on the genome and change how the genome is expressed, such as methylation, for example, which is one of the big subtopics of epigenetics that we'll be discussing today. So one of the prompt questions was, how is epigenetics heritable and how are the traits passed down to subsequent generations? And well, this all has to do with the transcription part of DNA and RNA coding. So methyl groups attached or not attached to histones affect how accessible DNA is for transcribing. And this essentially means how much of the DNA can be accessed for various gene expressions. So like even with identical twins, for example, presence of certain methylates they're not always on identical DNA in identical twins. So one twin could naturally be heavier in weight than the other twin, which is funny enough. There are these like famous twins on Disney Channel. Zach and Cody was their character, and one twin was always thicker than the other, even though they are identical twins. And learning about this part of epigenetics actually explained why I was like, why is one twin thicker than the other, like juicier, plumper, but they're identical twins? So, little tangent. So though the variability is often slim with identical DNA, it is much more different with non-twin siblings, parents, offspring. So that's why you have those big genetic and environmental factors that pass down through generations and affect different gene expressions in family members. And I go into this more in the next question, but I will be answering, I go into the mechanisms that affect epigenome in the next prompt. But I wanted to also bring up that in our last live session, we talked about the Dutch hunger famine, which was like an interesting gateway to understanding epigenetics because it was like an example of how environmental factors can rapidly affect gene expression. So like certain methylations occurred in these fetuses because their parents were hungry and not eating. And that activated and deactivated gene expressions, and these manifested as lifelong health impacts for these unborn babies, rapid aging being one of them. So that was really interesting. The other prompt was like to give a simplistic explanation of the mechanisms that affect the epigenome. So basically, epigenetic factors can affect the epigenome by histone methylation, demethylation,